Alright, what's up, class? It is me, B-Boy Cray, aka Shawnee Monster, and I am here with another practice video. This one's going to be about Top Rock. Okay, so Top Rock, um, just a short history lesson. Top Rock comes from a lot of like party dance culture and so dances that were made up at parties or created by um, popular artists like James Brown um, uh, for um, dancing at parties. A lot of top rock comes from salsa. So those are the two primary cultures that it comes from: is black culture and um, immigrant culture, Puerto Rican culture, like first generation Puerto Ricans living in New York. Salsa was invented in New York. Okay, but of course it was invented off of a lot of dance styles that came from Puerto Rico. Okay, so what I'm gonna show you is I'm not gonna throw too much at you because dancing, I think personally, is a much greater skill than just being able to do something like a windmill. I think windmills are cool, but dancing involves a lot of uh, just familiarity. You really have to just be about it all day long. And so I'm gonna teach you a few tips on how uh, you know on on how to do something that's called the Latin rock. Um, and I'll show you what Latin rock looks like, but then I'm not even gonna show you how to do the entire Latin rock. I'm gonna just show you how to move your hips essentially, and how to move your feet with your hips. And it is something that I've noticed in the b-boy culture, especially in Boston, where a lot of people they don't quite understand, or a lot of people that learn from the internet, they don't quite understand the top rock element, mostly because they don't expose themselves to dance cultures outside of breaking. And the way I was raised as a b-boy, not as like a human, the way I was taught was that a true b-boy or b-girl, a breaker, a true breaker, um, is very familiar and can dance to any kind of style of music. And I think it goes to show um, I think it goes to show when I dance amongst other b-boys, I'm able to articulate um, a little something that I think nowadays seems to surprise people, but back in the day, even just 10 years ago, I think it was something that was quite common. So it's an element that's sort of dying out due to the internet age and how information is spreading really quickly, and people want to forget about the actual dancing aspect and they just want to be able to do the big moves. I think it's really important to stay well-rounded. So while you practice the sit drops and everything like that, I also want you to take time while you're like in line for the school bathroom, or you can even do it in your seat. When you're in the car, moving your hips. You can move your hips in your seat. I remember growing up and always like kind of secretly moving my hips and moving my arms and moving my legs when I was in the car with my parents or someone. Okay, so here we go. Basically, let's take it back. Boom. So this is what Latin rock looks like. I'm gonna extend off of the camera, but it should be okay. Let me close these blinds real quick. Okay, so Latin rock is it's basically you're kicking your foot out and then you're stepping, right? That's the start. But basically, you're kicking your foot, right? and you're stepping, and then you're kicking your foot. It's a little bit of a shuffle, and you're stepping. So it looks like this. And you can, from a side view, or like maybe in a nice little angle, 45 degrees, Latin rock looks like that. That's me doing it from the side. How about this angle? Total side view. Alright, back view. Okay, so obviously it's going to look better the more you do it, the more you warm up, the better you're going to get like a bounce and stuff like that. So the Latin rock, just to start, I'm going to show you how to do the side step, right? So your feet are in the center and you're stepping out like this. Okay, but there's a lot of hips up here. There you have your hips. There's a lot of hips involved. So let's get it going. So check this out. First thing you need to know is you're stepping your foot out, right? And you're stepping your foot out. So get good at stepping your foot out, right? Like this, right? And honestly, this is step one, or stage one. Just get good at stepping your foot out and kind of touching down with the ball of your toes, the front part, right here. Touch down here. Don't really touch down here unless you're doing it after you've practiced touching down right about here a whole lot. So you're hearing boom, 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 okay? You can keep your hips straight, but it's just gonna look like this, right? So now I'm gonna teach you a simple way to really practice how to get your hips moving with your feet, but actually it's your feet moving with your hips. Check this out, it's very simple. Move your hips to the right, or to the side, right? Move them this way, okay? Now that they're over this way, you're going to step out in that direction. When you step out in that direction, you move your hips over into that direction. So you're moving your hips this way, and then you move your hips with your foot out that direction, okay? One more time, move your hips in this way, and then step out, boom, and your hips come totally out. So if I were to straighten my legs, you see that? You see how my hip is actually out? So you're going boom, 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 boom. It's kind of like skiing, although I've never skied, but I imagine it's kind of something like that. Hey, hey. And that could be a dance all on its own. Boom, boom, okay? So check this out. You're here, hip, and then hip. With the hip, you bring your leg out. It's very chill. All right, next, let's practice both sides. So you bring your hip out, hip out, make it unpredictable, hip out. Okay, I'm gonna step this way. Hip out, boom, okay. Come back in. When you come back in, this is the tricky part. When you come back in, your hips bounce to this side again, and then you have to shift them over here, and then shift them up here. So it's like it's a wiggle, wiggle, out. Wiggle, wiggle, out. Wiggle, wiggle, out. Wiggle, wiggle, out. And you can eventually manipulate this into the Latin rock, but the Latin rock is a whole nother level. It's a whole nother ball game. For now, this is pretty much the side step, which is a whole nother, which is a type of top rock as well. But it's a lot more chill, it's a lot more relaxed. Remember, once you've done it a million times, you can shape it into just being something that flows by yourself. But remember this step. Wiggle, wiggle, out. Wiggle, wiggle, out. But when you're going out, remember that hip is really getting out there, right? Boom. It doesn't really, be comfortable with where your arms are. If you need to, kind of pick a space in the room. You don't really have to like point at it, but maybe kind of a cat would be like, meow, right? Be like, right? Wiggle, wiggle, right? Wiggle, 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 Okay, what this turns into, I'm just moving forward here, is you can go wiggle, wiggle, out. You can go wiggle, wiggle, back, wiggle, right? So eventually you can start kind of pivoting on one foot, kick out, boom, kick out, right? Alright. So that is tonight's video. And this is not something I'm expecting you to grasp by next class, but I would hope that you practice it even more so than anything else. Just get really good at top rock, and the reason for getting really good at top rock is because it gives you that something, you know? How sometimes you look at an athlete and you're like, yeah, there's something about that person, you know? Well, it's the same with dancers. Other dancers will look at that dancer and be like, there's something about that dancer that I really like. Can't quite pinpoint it, but although if you get to a certain level of experience, you know exactly what it is you like about them. But I'd say someone that's like 5 years experienced, when I was 5 years experienced at least, there was something I liked about a dancer. I couldn't quite grasp it. I would just be like, yeah, they got it, they get it, you know? And I was like, what they really get is the fact that it's about moving your whole body, it's about moving your hips, and your entire body follows your hips. So don't be shy. I was raised in a culture where it was kind of a feminine thing to do. If you were a boy, like moving your hips was like feminine or whatever. Like honestly, let go of all those gender role kind of stuff. Don't worry about it. It's really just a cultural mindset. So feel free to move your hips. Feel free to get into a happy mindset, and feel free to feel confident. You will look cool. Once you get good at this, you will look cool. And you, personally, I have the most fun when I'm just doing top rock. And I consider myself most experienced at top rock than anything else. If there's anything I can teach you, it's top rock. Okay. Thank you.